directors, Chris Hillis from MIT, and we were part of the organizing committee for a workshop that was held on April 15th at Holyoke Community College, and I was asked to talk a little bit about that. And the workshop was really the goal behind it was to try to understand how the High Performance Computing Center might impact on education and outreach, training in the city and in the region. And so it was a limited, by invitation only workshop, so we had 75 attendees, and I'll talk about that in a second. I'll put a plug in for the Commonwealth Information Technology Initiative, which is one of the several things I somehow run. And City was set up to try to do something about improving the quality of computer science education in public higher ed in Massachusetts. And so City paid for this, and City is paying for a report on this workshop, which we hope will be completed fairly soon. So just to point out who the organizers were, we had people from all of the partners from the High Performance Computing Center, Chris and myself and Jim Carozza, and people from BU and Northeastern, from EMC, and so forth. I thought you might be interested in who came. So as I said, there were about 75 people, and you can see there were people from the local community colleges, from ISO New England, from UMass System, from local community organizations, from Congressman Olber's office, from the City Council, from the Mayor's office, and so forth. So I won't go over what all the content of the workshop is. I'm sure that you have questions about what the outcomes of the workshop were. But just to tell you that the keynote speaker was Fran Berman, who is now the Vice President for Research at RPI in Troy. But prior to starting that job recently, she directed the San Diego Supercomputer Center for a number of years. And she gave a wonderful keynote sort of outlining exactly how you go about designing a center, how you have to keep refreshing it and renewing it, and how, as she said, use the Gretzky rule and keep your eye, go where the puck is going to be, I think is the right term. We also had a panel that was a very distinguished group. We had Pat Dreyer from RINC, the Renaissance Computing Center in North Carolina, Roscoe Giles, who is the Associate Director of the High Performance Computing Center at BU, Sue Macca, who's a Dean at Holyoke Community College, Ann Rendels, who is an independent consultant, and I'll mention her again soon. But Ann was the Outreach Director for the Cornell Theory Center, for the Rice High Performance Computing Center, for the San Diego Computer Center, and she runs a number of major national organizations, particularly with outreach for women. Gordon Snyder, who you probably all know from SDCC, and Tim Yohannan from EMC, who's the college relations person at EMC. So it was a very stimulating panel. There were a number of questions that were raised at the workshop. One, what does one make of the Cisco Smart Plus Connected Neighborhoods program, and what is it going to do for the city, and how does it connect with the High Performance Computing Center? And from an economic standpoint, how do we generate interest from IT companies to locate here? How do we reach out to the existing local companies? How do we work on attracting suppliers and service providers that will come in and around the center? And is there a possibility to discuss spin-off companies that come out of the center? The charge that we had for a series of breakout groups was this list of things. What are the local and regional needs? What are the activities that community organizations in K-12 need out of the center? How can we leverage other activities? Are there opportunities at the for interacting with statewide STEM initiatives? What programs and other academic opportunities would be around the center? What role can industry play in this? So I'm going to slow down now and point out that we had 3 breakouts. One that was focused on issues in and around K-12 community organizations and economic development. One that was focused around community college partnerships, and one that was focused around university partnerships. And we have Bill Innan sitting over there, who was one of the leaders of the K-12 Community and Economic Development Organization discussion. We have Chris Hill, who led the university partnerships, and I guess I could fill in for the community college partners as well. So here's a set of suggestions that came out of the discussions with the group that was K-12 Community and Economic Development Organization focused. We tried to make sure that each of these groups were consisted of stakeholders that represented the broad set of interests and not just put all the K-12 community groups in one room and all the university people in another room. So there was a real effort to try to get cross talk. So these are the recommendations that it's important to increase access to computing, access to telecommunications in the Canal District, that there needs to be some sort of space there in the center for outreach efforts, that a community liaison person needs to be hired now or as soon as possible, that the space and the facilities and the access ought to afford opportunities for K-12 programs, tours, etc. And one ought to really make an effort to identify what's going on already in Holyoke and how to leverage those. And then there, in the education area, there was a discussion of the need for professional development for teachers and particularly for family involvement, for not just focusing on students and teachers, but focusing on families. So I'm going to stop talking fast at this point and see if there are any questions about this set of recommendations. Yes.
Rick, I had the opportunity to attend it in the morning and rapidly understood it as an educational environment, but Dr. Berman did a tremendous job of explaining the opportunity available, particularly for colleges and as a research center. I wasn't there in the afternoon. I knew there was going to be breakout, but what kind of possibilities exist for the business community? I saw very clearly the opportunities for research and for colleges, schools to access and use the systems. What I didn't hear, and it might have been in the afternoon, is how business can connect and how we can use it as leverage to locate businesses in this whole spin-off area. And maybe that came out in the afternoon, or maybe it's the next session which is coming up.
Well, I think in different ways. And so, first of all, the center itself and the resources that the center have are there primarily to support academic research. There's a strong commitment on the part of the presidents of the universities involved and the CEOs of the corporate partners and the state to make sure that that has some form of economic impact on the city of Holyoke. But the facilities themselves are not going to be made available to industry. So that if that's something that people expected, that's not